Okay, so we've got a a ton of material here about the future of space stations.
Yeah,
And it looks like things are about to get a lot more crowded up there.
definitely.
This isn't just about the International Space Station anymore.
Right.
We're talking about a whole bunch of new habitats that are going to be launching in the next few years.
It's a big shift. We're moving from the era of the ISS being the only one up there
Yeah.
to this future where space is going to be full of all different kinds of stations, all with their own purposes and designs. And
Well, and that's what I think is really interesting when I was going through this material,
yeah,
is this idea that it seems like private companies are really kind of taking charge now and really kind of pushing the boundaries.
it's really interesting to see how it's all developing, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got these factors all coming together at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, one thing is that space is becoming cheaper to get to
All right.
reusable rockets, more companies
Mhm.
competing to do launches.
Yeah.
It's all pushing the cost down.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier for everybody, governments, private companies.
So it's like that point where technology goes from being something only a few can use to suddenly everybody can get in on it.
Exactly. And at the same time, we've got these amazing advancements in technology.
Okay.
We're talking about things like inflatable modules. They can be packed up small for launch, and then they just expand in space.
Hold on. Inflatable modules?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like bouncy castles for kids here?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
These things are incredibly tough, made from these advanced materials like Vectran,
Mm-hmm.
and they're built to handle all the stuff that space can throw at them. Radiation, micrometeoroids, you name it.
Okay.
This technology has come a long way,
Yeah.
and it's going to completely change how we build in space.
Wow. And it makes you think about all the different types of stations that are being planned.
Right.
You've got everything from research labs to space hotels.
Yeah,
It's like a new frontier out there.
it really is, and there's so much demand for it.
So why do we think that is? I mean, what's driving this surge?
Well, I think it's a bunch of things. First of all, you've got that desire to make new discoveries in science.
Sure.
Microgravity research is amazing for
Yeah.
studying all kinds of things, from biology to how materials work.
Right.
We could see breakthroughs we can't even imagine right now.
And let's be honest here, there are also some real business opportunities coming up.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of these sources are talking about manufacturing in space,
Yeah.
building things in microgravity, maybe even using new materials and new ways of doing things.
It's a whole new world. And then there's space tourism.
Oh, right. Yeah.
More and more people want to experience space for themselves. And these new stations are going to make that possible.
So it's this mix of being curious about science wanting to make money and just humans wanting to explore new places.
A powerful combination.
It really is. And it looks like it's going to make space more accessible than ever.
Exactly. And it's exciting to see all these different players coming in now with their own ideas and their own goals. You've got the big aerospace companies,
Yeah.
ambitious startups, international collaborations.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, let's talk about some of these players. We've got a lot to get through.
Yeah, we do.
Let's start with Orbital Reef. Kind of makes you think of a vacation spot more than a space station.
Right. It is going to be more work than vacation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Orbital Roof is really going to be focused on business.
I know it's interesting to think about space actually becoming part of the Earth's economy.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And Orbital Reef, that's a perfect example with Blue Origin, Sierra Space, Boeing. They're all working together to make it a reality.
It's ambitious.
Their plan is to build a real business park in space.
Wow.
Companies can rent space up there for research manufacturing, even media production.
It's wild when you think about how we're moving from just exploring space to actually using it like this.
It's a big change.
Okay, so moving on to something completely different, the Lunar Gateway. This one seems to be all about countries working together.
Definitely, this is a joint project. NASA, the European Space Agency, Japan Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency are all involved.
So it's not going to be orbiting Earth, right?
Nope. This one's all about the moon.
Okay.
Think of it like a lunar outpost orbiting around the moon.
Uh-huh.
Astronauts can stop there, do research, even live there for a while.
So it's a big part of NASA's Artemis program.
Absolutely. Artemis is all about having people on the moon long term, and the Gateway is a key part of making that happen.
And it's not just about the moon either, right? The Gateway is also important for missions further out, like to Mars.
Exactly. It's a chance to test out all the technology and strategies we need for those longer trips in deep space.
So the moon becomes like a testing ground before we head further out.
Exactly. We can make sure everything works perfectly before sending people on those longer missions.
That's incredible. It really shows how everything is connected.
It really does.
The moon, Mars, these space stations, it's all part of this huge human adventure.
I love that way of looking at it.
Okay, so let's switch gears again and look at Axiom Station. This one is really interesting because of the way they're building it.
Yeah, they're doing things a little differently.
Starting by attaching to the ISS and then eventually becoming independent.
Exactly. It's a clever strategy.
Yeah.
They'll launch modules that connect to the ISS, like adding new rooms to a house.
Uh-huh.
But eventually, as they add more and more modules, Axiom Station will detach and become its own separate station, run entirely commercially.
So is this the future of space stations? Do you think we'll see more of this modular kind of approach?
It's definitely possible. It's flexible and you can just keep expanding.
Right.
But there are other ways to do it too. Take Haven 1, for example. Their timeline is incredibly ambitious.
Yeah, Haven 1 really caught my eye too.
They want to launch in August 2025.
Which is right around the corner.
I know, it's incredible how fast things are moving. It shows you how much energy there is in the private space industry.
Tell me more about Haven 1.
Okay, so it's being developed by a company called VAST.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Haven 1 isn't going to be a standalone station. It's actually just the first module of a much bigger station that they're going to build in orbit, piece by piece.
So they're basically building a house in space, one module at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's ambitious, but that's what makes it so exciting.
So what are they planning to do on Haven 1, or should I say on the eventual bigger station?
We don't know all the details yet, but they've talked about microgravity research, in-space manufacturing, and even the potential for space tourism later on.
Wow, that's a lot to pack into one station. It's amazing to see this kind of drive from a company that's relatively new to the space industry.
It's inspiring.
Okay, speaking of ambition, let's talk about Starlab. They're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with a space station designed specifically for research.
Starlab is all about science. They're using a large, inflatable module to give them plenty of room for experiments.
So that inflatable technology is really catching on.
It's a game changer. And they're planning to do research on everything from microgravity to materials to even fundamental physics.
It really highlights how space-based research is happening now.
Exactly.
It's not some far-off dream. And with all these new stations coming online, it's only going to get bigger.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we have one more station on our list. And this one's unique because it's not a concept. It's already up there.
You're talking about Tiangong.
Exactly. China's space station is already operational.
It's been up there since 2021.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is.
Everyone else is still building their space stations, and China is already up there working in theirs.
It's a sign of how things are changing in space exploration.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what's happening in space right now.
It really does.
I mean, we've gone from just having the ISS up there to this whole collection of stations, some that are still being planned and some that are already running.
It's a really interesting time for space exploration.
So with all these stations popping up, what does it mean for us here on Earth? What are the implications of all of this?
Well, when you think about it from a scientific perspective, it's huge. More labs in space means way more research can be done.
Right.
We can see amazing breakthroughs in medicine, new materials, even things we haven't even thought of yet.
And it's not just about science either.
Oh, definitely not.
I mean, some of the stuff they're talking about could help us solve problems here on Earth, too.
Exactly.
Huh?
Research in space can help us with things like climate change, running out of resources, even fighting diseases.
How so?
Well, for example, when you study Earth from space, you get this amazing view of what's happening with the climate.
Okay.
And microgravity is perfect for developing new materials and medicines that could really help people.
That's incredible.
And don't forget about the economic side of things.
Oh, right.
Space tourism is already a thing, and as space gets cheaper to get to, it could become a major industry.
Imagine a future where anyone could take a trip to space.
I know, right? It could change everything about how we think about travel, entertainment, even manufacturing.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
But it can't all be smooth sailing, right?
Well, you're right about that.
What kind of challenges do you think we'll run into?
As we send more and more stuff into space,
Yeah.
we need to be really careful about space junk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there are the bigger questions, like who gets to use space?
Right.
Who gets to control these space stations? How do we make sure everyone benefits from all of this?
It's a good reminder that while this is really exciting stuff, we need to be smart about how we move forward.
Absolutely. We need to be responsible and think about the long-term consequences of what we're doing.
Well said. So to wrap things up today, we've taken a deep dive into the world of space stations.
It's been quite a journey.
We've seen how private companies are stepping up,
Yeah.
how countries are working together, and how these new stations have the potential to change everything.
It's an exciting time to be talking about space.
It really is. And for everyone listening, the real question is what happens next?
What do you mean?
We've seen the plans, the technology, the ambition, but what will we do with it? How will we shape this new era of space exploration? The future is up to us.
That's a great way to put it.
So keep looking up because the stars are the limit.